G'day guys, Tills20 here and welcome back to Parkitect. Today's episode we're going to be finally putting down one of the main rides of $2 Studios. This is going to be a big hypercoaster that's going to be front and center of the park. The first ride you see, almost probably the first thing you see as you enter into the park. I really love the way this thing turned out. I think it is very unique and really iconic, and just think it adds so much to the park as we creep closer to opening up $2 Studios for the public, which we're going to be doing at the very end of this episode, which is going to be really cool. We'll be doing a live play around the 8 or so minute mark, so pretty short time lapse, because I just wanted to show you how I put this thing together, and then I do a bunch of stuff off camera that you'll see in the live play too. So I know it's taken a long time to finally get to this stage. I have been drip feeding you guys episodes of Parkitect every week. They've been a bit slow, I know, but I've been doing that because I've been wanting to do an episode every week. And these episodes honestly take probably, somewhere like 5-6 hours to put together, building and putting the commentary and editing and all those sort of things. So they do take a little bit of time to put together, so I've been trying to do them every week or so. I've been trying to stick to a pretty good schedule of an episode a week. I don't really want to fall into an episode a fortnight, because I think then it sort of, takes away from the build process. So I'm really sorry if they've taken a while for me to get to the stage of opening up the park. We are finally going to open it up today, which is lots of fun. It means then we can start doing more management side of the game, which is honestly one of the best parts of Parkitect, in my opinion. I really do love the way that we play the actual game and watch the mechanics of the park operate. So I'm pretty excited for that. So if you haven't picked out what inspiration I am taking for this roller coaster, this is based on the Hollywood Dream Coaster in Universal Studios in Japan, and I just think that this is an awesome looking ride. I really love the way that it's squeezed in between a lot of the main structures of the park, the main street. It goes over a whole bunch of roads. It goes through the parking lot. It goes over the main entrance. It's really a very interactive ride that you could probably see from any area of the park, which I also really love. And that's what I wanted to take ideas from and inspiration from. However, I also wanted to make it more of my own and make it something that was a little bit more unique. So I'm taking elements from that, but I'm also doing my own thing. So for example, rather than having a lift hill, I've decided to go for a launch hill instead, because I think it's really cool. And that's more taking inspiration from the Hulk roller coaster from, again, another Universal park. And then I also wanted this ride to be a little bit more extreme than the Hollywood Dream Coaster, because I've heard that's pretty underwhelming, very forceless, whereas I wanted this one to be a bit more forceful and really give a bit more ejector air time on those hills. And I am also basing it on, this is the same as Hollywood Dream Coaster, but I did want it to be very iconic in terms of being a B&M. So I didn't want it just to build a roller coaster. I wanted us to have a lot of features that a B&M hypercoaster would have. So trying to stick with a pretty traditional type of layout, like a lot of airtime hills, and then basically do a banked turn, and then you're back doing the same thing again. But then there's also this really cool element that I put over the main path, where there's like this ejector area where you basically get thrown to the right, and you get this feeling of being pushed out of your seat, being tipped out of the coaster into the main pathway. And it's also like a really great interaction with the path as well, which I also wanted to incorporate, because I do really love the way that the Hollywood Dream Coaster interacts with the layout of the path and the people. I think it's just as much fun to look at, if not more fun to watch this coaster go through, rather than actually being on it. But yeah, I just think this turned out great, and it was really important for me to get the layouts down now, so then I can build around it later on. And yeah, so a bit of pre-guessing where I want other areas of the park to sit, and figuring out where exactly I want some of my lands to go as well, because I do want this park to have a lot of themed areas. So the main drag is going to be based on Hollywood, and So it's kind of like you're walking through Hollywood Hills and going through a whole bunch of different studios, and then it's almost like the movies come to life and you go through all these different lands as part of the park, but it's sort of like you're going through movies and TV shows and, you know, interacting with your favorite characters from $2 studio pictures or whatever it is. So I would love to get some suggestions from you guys for themed areas that we're going to have in the park, because we do need to start getting to the stage where we plan where each area is going to go, each land's going to go, and that way I can sort of start figuring out where I want these places to sit within the park so that we don't miss out on them later on, because I know that if you don't plan these things from the get-go, then it's a bit hard to plan for them a little bit later on down the track. So we've got the main layout of the ride, of the roller coaster down, and you also saw me put down like the bare bones, basically just like one station and a little bit of track for a monorail, which I don't do anything else, but just wanted to get the idea of having a monorail sitting somewhere around there, but I don't know, it probably won't go exactly there. And still thinking about those themed lands, I would love to get your suggestions and ideas, and feel free to let me know of any sort of theme parks I should be taking inspiration from, or if you have ideas that are fresh from your own mind. I've got a couple of ideas myself, but I would really love some sort of weenie in the park. We're going to have a pretty big lake that's going to be pretty much the heart and center for the park, and on that lake I wanted to have some sort of weenie that, you know, as you walk through what is the main street for the park and go through, you know, what just feel like studios and, you know, main street types of buildings. I would love there to be this lake and then a big weenie, some kind of mountain. I know that there's a volcano at Disneyland Sea, or something like the big tree from Animal Kingdom. I just really love some sort of massive, big monument that sits in the middle of the park that really represents the imaginative land of the park, rather than just having something sort of based on studios and having like very classic Main Street type of areas. I would also love there to be very much like a fantasy part of the park as well, because I know that like Universal gets criticized quite a lot for being like, you know, basically like the cheapest way of making a themed park is to, or sorry, a theme park is to have these theme parks that are based on studios, because they're just big boxes, you know, big box buildings, and they're really cheap to make. And you know, that is sort of like, they get criticized for being like that. Whereas I would like to take elements of that, because I do really enjoy going to like studio based theme parks. I know we have Movie World in Australia, and that's probably one of my favorite parks in Australia. And yeah, I'd like to take inspiration from parks like that. But I also think that Disneyland does, and like, well, sorry, I also think that Disney do really amazing theming, and I would like to also take on, you know, elements of that too. So any ideas, please hit me up. I'm still figuring out what I want to do for that, and I would love your opinions. So now I'm just starting to detail up a little bit of this area, and I wanted to put a lot of effort into this main shop here, just to get a bit of a feel of how I'm going to detail all these buildings around this area. But I only put down this one building for today. In the next episode, maybe not the next episode, but the episode after, we'll do the main streets where we really detail up everything. Just want to let you know that in the live play, I changed the color of the grounds, and I do not like it. It's not great. A lot is going to change with the ground color and the way that the ground looks, so don't get used to it. I am just playing around with ideas, and I think what I'm going to settle on is getting rid of those like circular sidewalks that I have. I'm only going to use them in some areas, whereas I don't think it fits in everywhere that I have it. I don't think I like it. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for the time lapse. Let's get into the live play. Guys, we are officially open for business. So the next episode, it's going to be mostly based around me trying to make a little bit of a profit, doing a bit of a live play in the beginning, and also we'll be detailing up a bit of the main entrance too. Speaking of the main entrance, I have changed the color of the tiles around here. Nothing set in stone. I'm still playing with it because basically I just wanted to get away from that circular shape that I had, which is a little bit different, because usually I'm trying to get away from the actual squareness of this game, but instead I'm going to kind of going back to that, because I just think that the shape wasn't, I don't know, just didn't work. Things that I do like about this color now is I do like this main walking pathway that sort of leads straight to the main entrance, and I do like this little, I don't know, kind of reminds me of a chessboard. I think I might keep something like this, but you know, we need to work on the color, I think. But yeah, don't get used to this. But guys, we are officially open, so a little bit nervous because I don't see us making any money for a while, and I don't think I'm going to keep this safe in this live play because I think I'm probably going to lose most of my money just talking about things. But I mean, how good is this entrance now that we have our B&M finally open? And man, it really makes for a great entrance. I've been wanting to do something like this for ages, so it's pretty cool. Okay, now that he's there, we should be pretty much at the very beginning. Cool. So, at some stage we will have a warehouse studio here with a like a broken exit for these trains, so they sort of like shoot out of the burning building, which I think would be really fun. And I ended up having to slow down the launch, so I can't remember what I ended up putting. I think it's like 50 miles per hour, something like that, which is probably not the like the fastest element of it. I think probably down here would be, but it's turned out to be a pretty extreme ride, which we'll go through the stats very shortly. But he gets some really great airtime in this, which is great because I mean that's what B&Ms are all about. How about actually follow the train rather than just watching it from afar? Classic B&M turnaround. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the general layout of this. It's pretty basic, and I was like, that's what I was going for, because generally the sort of coasters I was making in this game were a little bit more abstract and not traditional, whereas this is, I think, a little bit more traditional, but it has some real signature elements to it which sort of make it more unique. Particularly this ejector. I don't really know what sort of element you'd call this, but like, you know, makes you feel like you're about to be tipped over out of the side of the coaster, which I think is like a really great way of you know, entering into the park and seeing that little section too. I wish I could have done it around the other way, but unfortunately, you know, doing a bit of clipping there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I haven't actually looked at the stats yet. Yeah, so it's a pretty extreme ride. It's not too intense, which is good. Does it tell us how fast it goes? Yeah, 87 kilometers per hour, which is pretty fast. So that is a pretty good way of coming into the park, I think. And we need to work on the supports, which I think I'll be doing in the next episode. Or I could be working on the main street. I haven't quite decided yet. But we do have a little bit of Main Street here. I did a bit of color work on it, which I'm pretty happy about. I really detailed this up, and I plan to detail up the Main Street pretty well. I did put in the spinner here, this Gravitron, because we are going to need more rides in this park if we're ever gonna see a profit. So I'm gonna have to place down a couple of these sort of like more placeholdy rides, which I'll show you. I've got a couple more that are hidden inside these buildings. Which, look, I'm going to be honest, I have a bit of a hard time justifying a Ferris wheel in the middle of this hotel, so I'm not going to keep this. This is only temporary. Though I will keep this because I think that it's nice to see... What am I looking for? There's the button. It's kind of nice to see that like people are actually using this space here, and I think there would be some sort of you know, ride that sort of sits in here, something that's like more of a motion simulator, but you know, I think we can sort of justify that. And then motion simulator is definitely going to sit here because, yeah, I think that's kind of a bit justified. A rave going on down there. But yeah, there's some of the rides that I've hidden in there, but I'm not going to do that with all of my buildings because I would like all the buildings, all the rides to actually make sense within this park, because I'm crazy like that, and I kind of want things to work at the way that they should. So yeah, next episode we might be working on the main street, we might be working on the supports, but we are definitely going to work on at least starting with a tiny bit of profit or breaking even, because I think that's going to be something we definitely need to be doing. what else can I show you? I did a few things off camera. So for instance, I also worked on this warehouse. So this is like unobtained land because we actually have the depot in here. So hopefully I won't need to build over this at some stage because I won't be able to. But I just sort of spliced it into this warehouse because I do like the way that this depot works at the back. So pretty happy with that. And also the workers, eventually when we actually get workers in here, they can actually access that. There's a pathway going all the way through here, so it's going to be really cool to see them walking around and actually going through these doors too, because you know that's what this series is all about, actually seeing the whole backstage stuff. You're in the wrong place, buddy. Okay, I'm gonna need to put some signs here to say no guests allowed, but you know, we'll work on that. That's sort of the whole point of doing this, is figuring out the bits that aren't working, which is that as well, which means that they can probably walk through these gates too. Okay, well I better fix that up. But guys, that is pretty much it. I'm pretty excited. I'm finally opened up the park so we can actually start working on the management side of things, which is what this is all about. But guys, do let me know what you think in the comment section below, and if you have any name suggestions for this B&M, definitely hit me up because we're going to need to name it. Thank you all so much for watching, and please hit me up with those comments to let me know of any changes or suggestions. I'm all ears. Before I go, I do want to give a special shout out to some of my beloved patrons like Ben Redfern, Xavier Chung, and Phil Garrett. Guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!